Hey, how's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Retroplex, and welcome to the first video of 2025. I hope everyone's 2025 is off to a very good start, and what better way to start the new year off with a very long overdue game review. A game that I wanted to review for quite some time now, and that game is Sonic X Shadow Generations. When this game was first announced, we all thought this would just be a generic remaster of Sonic Generations that just looks exactly the same as its original predecessor, with very slightly enhanced graphics and boosted frame rates. That's until our beloved ultimate life form Shadow shows up in frame and reveals that this isn't just a remaster. Oh no. We would be getting a completely new story campaign with Shadow as the main protagonist. And this is a pretty huge deal since Shadow hasn't been a playable character since Sonic Forces, the most mediocre Sonic game of all time. So all of the hype around Shadow Generations just makes a lot of sense. Now before I talk about the rest of what Shadow Generations has to offer, let's give Sonic Generations some love, shall we? One major change that they made in the Sonic Generations remaster is the rewritten cutscenes. And I heard people saying that they really like the cutscene changes, while on the other hand, I've heard some people say they dislike the change. There's really not much in between. Like in the new cutscenes, they edited out the part where Sonic is pushing Amy out of his sight, or the other scene where Amy effortlessly pushes Knuckles into a tree. It's even revealed that classic Sonic ate the rest of Knuckles' island, I guess. And classic Sonic is still completely mute in this game, which really makes no sense at all since classic Tails and classic Eggman has like a full-on monologue. But what I really like about the new cutscenes is that modern Sonic actually responds when he rescues his friends instead of emoting awkwardly. You can also find different chows throughout the levels, and if you pre-order the game, you get access to the Sonic Adventure Legacy skin, and if you're subscribed to the Sonic email newsletter, you also get access to the Sonic Jam skin for classic Sonic. But besides that, not much has changed in the remaster. This game does an excellent job showcasing the history of the past Sonic games with these amazing levels, with each one having two different acts. Act 1 for classic Sonic, which is entirely 2D, and Act 2 for modern Sonic with 3D levels, designed to use his boost mechanism and homing attacks. This game is set to take place on Sonic's birthday, and the gang throws him a surprise party. And then out of nowhere, everyone gets sucked into the time portal by the Time Eater, and Sonic finds himself in the white space all alone. What a way to celebrate your birthday by watching all your friends get sucked into a black hole. Now it's up to Sonic to play through each zone to rescue his friends, and that's when he encounters classic Sonic. All the zones you play through come from the iconic games from the past. There's Green Hill from the first Sonic game on the Genesis, the iconic City Escape from Sonic Adventure 2, Rooftop Run from Sonic Unleashed, and much more. These levels are really fun to play in general, but trying to collect all the red rings and the chows can just be a pain in the ass to do, as you have to take different routes just to find one ring, and then play the level again just to find the other ones. The music in this game is also amazing, with Act 1 having some like retro kind of 90s vibes that fit classic Sonic, while the Act 2 music is more energetic and the type of music that you would listen to while running a marathon, which perfectly suits modern Sonic. This game also has some really interesting missions known as the challenge acts that you complete assigned by the other characters, whether that's treasure hunting with Knuckles, find the chows with Cream, or play hide and go seek with Espio. These challenges can be pretty fun as well, but like I said in the levels, they're pretty difficult if you're trying to go for that S rank. Then we've got the boss fights, which are honestly pretty tricky for the most part. And of course, these bosses are based on the other Sonic titles, with classic Metal Sonic from Sonic CD, Shadow and the Space Colony arc from Sonic Adventure 2, Perfect Chaos from the first Sonic Adventure, but then there's the final boss with the Time Eater, along with classic and modern Eggman. And if I'm gonna be honest, this boss kinda sucks, as I find it to be extremely tedious and not very helpful at all, as you got all of Sonic's friends being a whole f***ing cheerleader squad, just spoon-feeding you useless tips and tricks at you while you're just trying to beat the boss. It's just so irritating. I'm just trying to lock in, beat the shit out of the Time Eater, but how the f can I do that if I'm constantly hearing everyone yelling stupid shit at me? Just shut the f up and let me figure this shit on my own! I'm sorry for the mini crash out, but I think I can say this for everyone who has dealt with this torturous boss fight. It's just not fun to play. Then the ending picks up where it started, with everyone back at Sonic's party. Then classic Sonic and Tails go back to their world. And there's also this pretty funny ending scene with classic and modern Eggman trapped in the white space, trying to figure out a way out, and they're just going back and forth at each other. It's pretty hysterical. And that's pretty much all of Sonic Generations. But this video is not over yet, as we need to talk about Shadow Generations. And this game is so much different compared to Sonic Generations in terms of gameplay, storyline, characterization. As obvious, Shadow's the protagonist, and the plot is connected to Sonic Generations, as Shadow is seen in the space colony arc on the phone with Rouge, and she asks Shadow if he'll be at Sonic's party, and Shadow gets sucked into the white space as well. And I really love the hub world. Unlike in Sonic Generations, the hub zone is entirely 2D, but in Shadow's story, you can run around freely in 3D, and you can explore so much more with completing puzzles and finding chests that contain different pieces of artwork from past Sonic titles. They definitely took inspiration from Sonic Frontiers for this game, and I love it. The controls in Shadow Generations just feel so right. The gameplay just feels so nice and responsive. I really hope that Sega keeps this momentum going for the future Sonic entries. Same goes for the storyline as well. The side characters in this game are also really consistent, with Rouge, Omega, Orbot, and Cubot. Well, actually, they were kind of trolls in this game, as they ask you to find all the nuts and bolts scattered throughout the zone to reassemble their rocket ship, only to reveal that their ship was just some fucking cuckoo clock. Really? Come on, man. Yeah, and if you play on 100%ing this game, collecting all the pieces for Orbot and Cubot should be the last thing you worry about, as it does absolutely nothing. Oh, and Big the Cat's here too. I was wondering where he was at Sonic's party. And it's basically the first time he and Shadow interact. I can see these two being pals and going fishing together one day. Shadow literally fucking smirks when he sees Big. I'll be waiting for Sega to release the Shadow and Big fishing game. I'll be waiting. And Shadow also reunites with Maria and Gerald Robotnik from the past, and Shadow uses this as an opportunity to attempt to change Maria and Gerald's fate to prevent their deaths. And I also really love how Shadow reacts when he sees Maria again for the very first time, and then quickly realizes that something's wrong and tries to figure out what has happened. There's also this really sick cutscene where Shadow encounters Sonic, which makes like a parallel connection to the Sonic Generation storyline, and they recreate the iconic Shadow and Sonic one-on-one fight, but in Shadow's point of view. It would have been so cool if we can actually play the fight, but it's just cut down to the cutscene. It does make sense though, since Shadow would have to lose to Sonic, so Sonic can take the Chaos Emerald and defeat the Time Eater. But it's shortly revealed that Shadow swapped out the Emerald with a counterfeit, and has Rouge swap out the Emeralds again once he defeats Black Doom. And I absolutely love the levels in this game as well. Like in Sonic Generations, each zone has two acts. Act 1 that is 3D based, and Act 2 that is 2D based, with returning levels like Space Colony Arc and Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2, Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, Kingdom Valley from Sonic 06. They even brought in levels from the more recent Sonic titles, with Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces and Chaos Island from Sonic Frontiers, so it looks like we're also time traveling to the future as well. And in these levels, you gain access to Chaos Control to freeze time for a few seconds, and this ability is an absolute game changer, because not only does it freeze time, but it also slows down your timer too, which can be extremely beneficial if you're trying to go for that S rank. And halfway through playing the levels, the zone drastically changes into this distorted section of Radical Highway called the Doom Zone, where you're chasing around Doomsday, and the cinematography of these levels are just phenomenal. Sega was definitely cooking with these levels, and just recently we just got the new DLC Tokyo level based off the third Sonic movie, and they even got Keanu Reeves to voice movie Shadow in this level. And I think this DLC is an amazing way to promote the Sonic 3 movie. I just wish we could have gotten more from this DLC, like including an Act 2 for the zone. It would have been so cool to play the Tokyo zone in 2D, and it's such a shame that you can't even use the movie Shadow skin outside the level. But regardless, I still had a lot of fun with this level. And throughout the game, Shadow unlocks these really awesome Doom abilities that include the Doom Spears, Doom Blast, Doom Surf, Doom morph, and the most broken one of all time, the Doom Wings, which is basically an alternative to Shadow's super form, where you have to collect 50 rings and you'll just be flying around the levels. And like in Sonic Generations, this game also has the Challenge X that you play to earn the boss keys. Unfortunately, this game doesn't have too many boss fights, but honestly, these boss fights are so good that it kind of makes me forget about it. These bosses are an absolute blast to play, with returning villains that include Bio Lizard, Metal Overlord, Memphis Tennessee, and Neo Devil Doom. And each of these bosses implement the Doom abilities, which makes these bosses even more fun. And the game ends with one of the saddest moments in any Sonic game, as Shadow sees that Gerald and Maria are starting to fade away into their own point in time now that Doom is defeated. And Shadow tries to take the real Emerald back from Rouge and use Chaos Control to stop them from vanishing, but Maria stops Shadow and tells him that they don't want to be frozen in time, and encourages Shadow to help his friends. And it's really emotional as Maria tells Shadow that she will always live in his heart. After Gerald and Maria fully vanish, Shadow goes with Rouge to help Sonic, and as he passes by Rouge, he sheds a tear, showing that Shadow does have feelings like everyone else. And that's the end of Shadow Generations. I think it's safe to say that Shadow Generations absolutely exceeded my expectations. When I saw the first Sonic X Shadow Generations trailer, I didn't expect too much. I thought we were just gonna get like an expansion with new levels that you can play as Shadow, but we got so much more than that. We got a fully fledged storyline with updated graphics, amazing cinematography, excellent characterization. This is basically the closest we'll get to a Shadow 05 sequel, and it's fantastic. They left out one thing that came in packaged with the game, and that is Professor Gerald Robotnik's journal. That's right, if you pre-order the physical version of Sonic X Shadow Generations, you'll receive a physical copy of Gerald's journal. But don't let that one infomercial that the official Sonic the Hedgehog YouTube channel uploaded fool you, as they advertised the journal as a big book that you can read with your stuffed animal. But in reality, it's just some tiny little booklet. But if you only have the digital copy of the game, you can also just find entries in the white space in Shadow Generations. I highly recommend reading his journal, as Gerald talks about his family life, his research on the Space Colony Ark, and how he took Maria to the Ark to try to cure her from her chronic illness, which eventually created Project Shadow. It's honestly pretty sad and disturbing to read how Gerald had gone mentally insane trying to find a cure for Maria, that he just ended up losing her when the gun agents killed her. It's pretty fucking tragic to see him go down this path. And yeah, just wanted to make this video talking about the journal. That's all I got for today. See ya. Nah, I'm just fucking kidding. I can't end a video without talking about Sonic X Shadow Generations Dark Beginnings, a 3-episode prologue miniseries that takes place shortly before the events of Shadow Generations. Even though the series was uploaded on YouTube before the game was released, you can still watch all the episodes on the game itself, and there's also a bonus scene that is locked behind the PlayStation versions of this game. But we'll talk about the bonus scene soon. Right off the bat, Shadow Dark Beginnings is hands down the best looking piece of Sonic media that I have ever seen. The animation just looks fucking incredible. I really hope one day Sega makes another Sonic TV series with this type of 2D animation and just ditch the 3D animation. Not saying that there's anything bad with the 3D animation that is used in Sonic Boom and Sonic Prime, but 2D, it just looks more expressive in a way. Episode 1, titled Shadow and Maria, starts off 50 years ago with the two at the Ark, watching the Aurora Borealis. Then suddenly, Maria nearly passes out and Shadow gets frustrated at himself that he hasn't been able to cure Maria's disease, since he was created by Gerald as the ultimate life form to cure her. Then Maria comforts him and tells him that they're doing their best despite not making any progress. Then it cuts to Shadow saving Gerald as he's being attacked by Emerald, only for Shadow to find out that something's wrong as he's being confronted by his past, remembering the final words Maria said to him before she died. Then it cuts to Shadow in the present day in a flash, and he throws a chaos spear at the tree. That part honestly gave me chills. Then in episode 2, Finding the Way, it flashbacks again to 50 years ago when a young annoying little piece of shit Abraham Tower calls Shadow a freak to Maria, and she comforts Shadow as he looks at the Death Leech. Shadow wonders if he'll ever be like that creature since he is created by the same DNA as the Death Leech. And Maria reminds Shadow that he has a big heart and that he's nothing like that creature. future. Then it transitions to present day yet again, with Shadow, Rouge, and Omega at the hidden base fighting the egg pawns. Shadow then tells Rouge that he wants to gain access to a spacecraft that'll take him to the Ark to help him find answers on why he's constantly getting flashbacks. He suspects that the Black Arms is behind all this. Rouge agrees to give Shadow a spacecraft, but only if he attends Sonic's birthday party. And that brings us to the third and final episode titled To the Ark. This one's definitely my favorite episode. Team Dark heads to the gun military base to access the spacecraft. Then they get jumped by the Blue Falcon mech, and that's when we got a really sick fight scene. But my favorite moment of the fight is when the mech launches missiles at them, and Shadow grabs the missile and launches it back at the mech. That part is just badass. That's fucking cool. As soon as they finish the fight, Shadow enters the spacecraft and tells Rouge that he's ready to take off. And remember Abraham Tower, that annoying little shithead from episode 2 that called Shadow a freak? He's now the gun commander, and he sounds a little bit like that blue little mammal that we all know and love. Yeah, I find it pretty funny that Roger Craig Smith voices nearly half the characters in this series, but not Sonic. But anyway, Commander Tower overrides the launch system, and that's when we get some good character development from Commander Tower when he admits to Rouge that he supports Shadow despite their differences in the past and would have let him use the shuttle if he just asked. Then Rouge and the Commander acknowledge Maria, and that's when we get the most emotional part of the series, where Shadow is seen in the spacecraft and he remembers the moments he had with Maria, and you have the song Without You by Casey Lee Williams playing in the background, which makes this even more sad if you pay attention to the lyrics of the song. Then it cuts to a little end credit scene of Black Doom with his eyes glowing, but now we get to the bonus scene, which really makes no sense that this scene is only exclusive to the PlayStation ports. It shows Shadow and Maria together watching the stars, and Maria's excited that she and Shadow are gonna go back to Earth once they cure her, but Shadow doubts himself that he'll fit in, and Maria hugs him and tells him that he'll always count on her if he needs help. And as soon as she says that, she fades away in the form of the stars, and that is the end of Shadow Generations Dark Beginnings, or as I like to call it, Shadow Generations Emotionally Damaged Beginnings. For a 15-minute miniseries with great animations, this series is amazing. It does such a good job capturing more of Shadow's backstory along with him and Maria. I just really wish we got more of this, but all of that continues in Shadow Generations, giving Dark Beginnings an 8.5 out of 10. Let's hope that Sega keeps this momentum going. I'm gonna be ranking every level in this game, including the movie Shadow DLC level. This ranking was honestly not very easy to make, since each of these levels are excellent in their own unique ways, and even the weaker ones are still good, but unfortunately one level is gonna have to be in last place. And since this is a ranking video, of course, everything that comes out of my mouth about these levels will all be based on my opinion. If you agree with my list, that's cool. If you disagree, that's also cool. If you played Shadow Generations, feel free to drop your stage ranking in the comments below. I'd love to hear yours. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the stage taking the last place spot. And that is Chaos Island Act 2. Even though this level is at the very bottom of the list, I still enjoyed it. Just not as much as the other ones above. The reason why I think this level's in last place is because I think the Dune Morph sections can be a little tedious when it's being utilized in 2D. And there is one section in the level that weirdly kind of reminds me of the classic Donkey Kong game on the NES. I don't know if it's just me. That's just the first thing that comes to my mind when I play this part. And I'm not a huge fan of the section with the flying gondolas where you have to dodge the flying spike balls. Unless you have the Doom Wings, and you might as well just skip through the whole part. But besides that, Chaos Island Act 2 is a pretty solid level, but it's not as good as Rail Canyon Act 2, which is next on the list. I really like how this level takes inspiration from Bullet Station, while its Act 1 counterpart takes inspiration from the base Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, especially with the theme for Act 2, where they just remixed the Bullet Station theme. But besides that, the level structure, you're just riding on the guardrails while avoiding those monster train things, whatever the fuck you want to call them, and you can take shortcuts by stomping through the scaffolded platforms. And Chaos Control is put to really good use to stop these trains from running into you. But overall, there's not too much going on with this level. It's just a really fun 2D level. Next up, we got the first Act 2 level, Space Colony Arc Act 2. Not gonna lie, this level is kind of a weird one, and it's not really because of the actual level design. When playing this game for the very first time, this level lets you use the Doom Wings for the very first time, and it's really fun. But after you complete the level, you lose access to the wings until you play through the near end of the game, when you fully unlock the Doom Wings when you reach the Radical Highway X. But the actual level itself itself is really fun to play. Using Chaos Control to run along the trail, running on those weird gravity tubes from Sonic Adventure 2, and there's sections that you have to use the Chaos Spears to activate the doors. Really unique level and a great starter level for the 2D acts. Next up, we got Kingdom Valley Act 2. Y'all starting to notice a little bit of a pattern going on with this ranking? I feel that it's pretty obvious that all the Act 2 levels, not counting Radical Highway Act 2, would be on the lower half of this list because, in my opinion, not one of these 2D levels are anywhere near as good as the 3D levels. I enjoy Kingdom Valley 2 a lot. I really love using the Doom Blasts on the enemies to reach shortcuts, and using Chaos Control to stop the moving pillars from crushing you to death. And riding on the air rails, I think that's what you call them. Riding on them just feels so satisfying. And the best 2D level in Shadow Generations, we got Sunset Heights Act 2. This level is pretty fucking awesome if you ask me. All the other 2D levels are great and all, but there's something about Sunset Heights Act 2 that just outshines all the other Act 2s. I really love the background of the level with the Death Egg robots shooting lasers at the platforms, and you have to avoid as many shots as you can, and that's when Chaos Control comes to play. And there's these little bug creatures that if you do a homing attack on them, it creates a trail to take you to a completely different route, which is really similar to the Chaos Control trails. And the underground sewer section is really sick as well, as it utilizes the Doom Surf ability. The overall theme of this level is just immaculate. Next up is the first 3D level on the list. Not the first 3D level in the game, just to be clear. And that level is Tokyo Act 1, based on the third Sonic movie. This is basically the closest we'll get to an official Sonic movie video game, and it's really fucking cool to see. They really went all out for this level in particular, by including an opening cutscene where Shadow enters the movie dimension, and you got the build-up of the Westopolis remix in the background. It's just a fucking masterpiece if you ask me. And the cinematography does not fail to amaze me in this level as well. With Shadow going after the gun helicopter and taking the pilot out, they did not need to cook this hard, especially with Shadow's ranking animations. It's just so freaking good. And the ending cutscene after you complete the level is just the cherry on top. People can argue that the cutscenes take up a small portion of the level and that the timer doesn't pause when it occurs, but me personally, these animations are so good that I kind of think it's worth the trade-off. Okay, but now the actual level itself. The level design is also really awesome, taking place in Shibuya, and you have to dodge all the gun missiles and the one section where you ride on the rails while avoiding the laser-guarded subway trains, which honestly kind of reminds me of Subway Surfers in a way. The underground section is amazing as well, and the ending of the level where Shadow boosts up to the sky tree while dodging all the missiles, and as soon as he reaches to the top, he takes down the helicopter, and it's absolutely badass. The only reason why this level is at the near bottom of the list is because I just want more. I was honestly kind of sad that it was over. It would have been so cool if we got an Act 2 of this zone, but I still really enjoyed what Sega gave us. Next up, we got the level that starts it all, and that is Space Colony Arc Act 1. For a starter level, this level is sick as f***, taking elements from the original levels from Sonic Adventure 2 and fuse them all in one. This level also does an excellent job demonstrating how the Chaos Control ability works when in the middle of the level. The giant missile launches directly at you, forcing you to use Chaos Control to freeze time and counteract it. But the coolest part of the level is that in the near end, you encounter Doomsday, and he'll transport you to the Doom Zone, which is in the form of Radical Highway for some reason. Out of all zones Black Doom could have picked, he chose Radical Highway. I'm not really sure why.
I just think Radical Highway is so cool. What? And you grind down the suspension cables like whoosh, and then the fighter jets come in and drop bombs like you dodge them, and then you go in that building with the springs, and it's like wong, 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 wong. My god, it's so cool.
What are you, 12?
I am.
Oh, okay, that's pretty reasonable, I guess. Anyway, the Doom Zone becomes a reoccurring thing in most of the Act 1 levels, and then after you complete the Doom Zone, you get transported back into the base level. The transition from the base level to the Doom Zone and then back to the base level is just immaculate. Same goes for the cinematography. It's just fucking beautiful. Next up is probably the most controversial level in this game, and that is Chaos Island Act 1. This level is definitely an oddball of a choice for a few reasons. This level originates from the most recent mainline title, Sonic Frontiers, a game that Shadow isn't present at all. So including this level from a game that isn't relevant to Shadow in the slightest doesn't really make too much sense. Who knows, maybe this could be hinting at a potential Sonic Frontiers sequel featuring Shadow. but only time will tell. This is also the first level that utilizes the Doom Morph ability, which a lot of people, myself included, didn't really understand how the ability works because this game doesn't do a very good job explaining it. At first, I wasn't really a big fan of this level because of the structure of it and Doom Morph. But as time went on and I began to get the hang of the Doom Morph and the techniques of the overall level, I actually enjoyed this level a lot more than the first time. As someone who is a sucker for Sonic Frontiers, I really appreciated the design of this level. Think of it as the original Chaos Island from Frontiers, but without all those unnecessary bullshit 2D sections, and it's actually a joy to play. I love that they brought in the enemies from Frontiers and those balloon ball things that you have to home attack on, and the indoor cave section is really sick as well. You can even see the volcano erupt in the background along with the giant robot that has been demolished. I don't really think this level deserved the criticism it got. As a matter of fact, I think this level is kind of underrated. Sorry for interrupting the Shadow Generation stage ranking portion of this video, but it has come to my attention that I have not yet made a ranking on every Doom power that Shadow obtains in Shadow Generations, because each of these powers are really fun and unique in their own ways. So without further ado, here is my quick ranking on every Doom power. Coming in last place, we got the Doom Spears, which upgrades Shadow's Chaos Spears by giving you the ability to shoot 5 spears simultaneously, which is very beneficial in boss fights to lock onto various targets. Next up, we got the Doom Blast, where you lock onto certain enemies and launch them into the position of your choosing. And when you launch them at the same time, you'll get warped into the same position you launched the enemy at. This is a really helpful ability that can warp you to different parts of the level or even the white space. And in number 3, we got the Doom Morph. When using Doom Morph for the first time, I was very conflicted because I didn't really understand how this ability worked, especially when playing Chaos Island Act 1 for the very first time. But once you get a better understanding of the techniques of this ability, Doom Morph is actually pretty fun. And the runner-up, we got the Doom Surf that Shadow activates when he makes contact with the water. And with Doom Surf, you can pull off some cool tricks, including this sidestep technique called the Surf Spin, which is very useful to launch objects, especially when going up against Metal Overlord. And the crown for the best Doom ability will be going to the Doom Wings. I feel like I don't need to provide much of an explanation on why I love the Doom Wings so much. You're basically just going on a hell of a joyride, and once you collect 50 rings, with the wings you can just skip a vast majority of the levels, and using them in the final boss against Devil Doom is such a blast. Alright, now let's get back to Shadow Generations ranking. Next up is the best Act 2 level. Not really sure why this is considered an Act 2 level since it's entirely 3D. It's Radical Highway Act 2. This level is definitely the most challenging one, especially when trying to go for that S rank, as you have those rotating platforms that you have to try to stay on, and those floating walls coming directly at you as you're running, and you fly around with the Doom Wings while avoiding the spinning cyclones scattered around the level. And since Radical Highway Acts 1 and 2 take place in the Doom Zone, chaos control is off limits, so good luck to all you chaos control addicts. And unlike Act 1 that takes place during the night, Act 2 takes place during the rainstorm in the afternoon. I think it's the afternoon. Radical Highway Act 2 is an excellent level to end off all the other zones, and especially before taking on the no-legged demon that loves Radical Highway so much. Now coming in at the number 4 spot, we got Rail Canyon Act 1, and holy shit, this level's fucking awesome. I may not be the biggest fan of the original Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, but god damn, I am a huge fan of the remake in Shadow Generations. With the updated game engine for Shadow, swapping in between rails just feels so snappy and precise, while in Heroes my anxiety would go through the roof when trying to switch rails due to how janky the controls are. In the sections where you have to avoid getting hit by the armored trains is a lot of fun as well. And there's these other trains that'll spew spike balls at you to destroy the rails to knock you off the stage. But with good old chaos control, you use those rails that the trains are about to attack and take completely different routes, or better yet, just go on a joyride with the Doom Wings. The visuals in comparison to Heroes are just breathtaking. And of course, this level takes you to the Doom Zone in the form of, you guessed it, the highway that is quite radical. And the Doom's Eye will summon rotating Patrick stars, and you can use the Doom Spears to stun them. Rail Canyon Act 1 is definitely one of my all-time favorites. This level kinda makes me wish for a potential Sonic Heroes remake, with the upgraded art style, music, and control engine. Now we're at the final 3, and the level finishing in 3rd place is Sunset Heights Act 1. This level completely took me by surprise because of how sick this level is. This level originates from Sonic Forces, a game that is not very beloved by the fan base due to how linear the levels are. The original Sunset Heights from Forces only takes about like a minute long, while in Shadow Generations the remake is about 5 minutes long, depending on if you're going for that S rank. That's a huge fucking difference. This level basically sums up Sonic Forces if Sega actually put in the time and effort into making this game. They also took elements from other Sonic Forces levels that include Park Avenue, Ghost Town, and Enemy Territory. I know I haven't talked about the 3 collectibles that you can obtain in each level in this video, but the locations of the collection keys in this level are fucking genius. For the first key, you have to activate Chaos Control to freeze the cannon robots as they are firing cannonballs at you, so you can use the balls as homing shots to reach the upper platform to obtain the first one. The second one is basically the same method. The egg robots start throwing boulders at you, and you have to find the right timing just to use Chaos Control so that you can use the homing attacks on the boulders as a way to reach the upper platform to snatch the second one. And for the third one, you Doom Blast the Black Arms enemy to take you to a hidden path where you'll find the last collection key. In the cinematic, when Shadow dodges the Death Egg robot's attack into the underground sewer section, is just fantastic. And of course, Black Doom takes you back to yet again Radical motherfucking Highway. And I'm not gonna lie, out of all the Doom Zone sections in this game, not counting the base Radical Highway zones, Sunset Heights probably has the most trickiest Doom Zone section, as Black Doom lures you into this tube-like tunnel where you have to avoid cliffs, spike balls, and there's these poisonous purple trails that you have to avoid as well. This part was very challenging for the most part. I was very impressed when playing this level for the very first time. I honestly wish that every Sonic Forces level can get the exact same treatment that Shadow Generations gave, or better yet, just completely remake the entirety of Sonic Forces and throw the shitty one that we're stuck with into the Shadow Realm to never be seen again. In the runner-up of this ranking, we got Radical Highway Act 1. I can now see why Black Doom chose this zone specifically for the Doom Zones. This is the first level you play after you fully gain access to the Doom Wings. I really love the part where Shadow boosts up to the building to activate his Doom Wings, and he says, "I'll overcome every obstacle with this power." That part is really cool. And that's when we get to use the wings in a 3D zone for the very first time. And it's so much fun to fly across the zone, getting a beautiful view of the city while boosting on bridges and avoiding enemies and various obstacles. And there's many different routes that you can take, giving the players the opportunity to freely explore the radicalness of this mesmerizing highway. Most of this level heavily relies on the Doom Wings, but if you want a real challenge, try out this level but without the Doom Wings. Good luck trying to get an S rank, trust me. This level without the wings is a whole different experience. Alright, now that I got all the levels out of the way, it is now time to announce the best level in Shadow Generations. And that level is none other than... That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The level taking the crown as the best level is Kingdom Valley Act 1. I don't know what it is about Kingdom Valley Act 1 that I love so much about. It could be because of how stunning this level looks, and that there's a wide variety of paths and shortcuts you can take, and the fact that a fucking eagle takes you to the zone at the very start and brings you to different destinations. Every time I play the zone, I always forget that this level originated in Sonic 06, one of the most hated mainline titles due to its unfinished controls and the notorious loading screen. Everything about this level is just so satisfying. You start off with grinding on the rails, jumping on the tight ropes to reach the higher routes. There's even the section where you go doom surfing and you find even more different routes. You also encounter one of the Black Arms enemies during your doom surfing session, and if you time it correctly, you can use Chaos Control and perform a Doom Blast on the enemy to take a shortcut. Then there's the ending section where you're surrounded by this huge waterfall while dodging more obstacles until you reach the finish. And the waterfall in the background looks beautiful. Oh, and also this is one of the very few Act 1 levels, including Chaos Island Act 1, that doesn't feature the Doom Zone. But due to how fantastic this level is, I'm perfectly fine without the Doom Zone. As a matter of fact, I feel like this level wouldn't be as good if they actually did include the Doom Zone, but that's just my personal opinion. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is my ranking on every Act 1 and 2 level in Shadow Generations. And now we'll be moving on to rank every stage from Sonic Generations. This game has a lot of of really unique levels. Most of them are really fun, while some of them are, playable, to say the least. And just like every ranking video, this is all based on my opinion. Some will agree and some will disagree. If you played Sonic Generations, feel free to drop your stage ranking in the comments below. I'd be down to hear yours. Now, without further ado, let's get to the worst stage of all time, which is Planet Wisp Act 1. This level fucking sucks major yeah, Planet Wisp Act 1 is just such a frustrating level for any first timers. And what really brings this level down tremendously is the use of the pink wisp, which is just terrible. The pink wisps, I can't even say it correctly. The pink wisp lacks good momentum, and it just feels so stiff when moving around. Not to mention those puzzle sections where you have to turn to a pink spike to grind on those stupid little gears just to get them moving and unlock certain paths. It's all just a fucking pain in the ass to pull off. I must confess, I have yet to collect all the red rings and chows from each stage, and I already know that collecting all the red rings in Planet Wisp Act 1 is gonna be a fucking nightmare. And the level above it is the older brother of Act 1, which is Planet Wisp Act 2. This level is definitely less worse than Act 1. For starters, they replaced the pink wisp with the orange one for you to turn into an orange rocket to blast through the platforms. I don't know why, but I really like that sound effect when you transform into a rocket and blast off. It just tickles my brain for some reason. I think this level looks really nice. I really like the visuals of the robot factory section and the visuals of the first half of the level. Boy, if only I could say the same thing about the gameplay itself. Yeah, you might as well call this stage Planet Wisp Act 1.5, because a small portion of this stage is 3D, while the rest is entirely 2D. Should've just put this level in the 3DS port of Sonic Generations, since the entire gameplay is 2D based. I definitely like using the orange wisp more than the pink one, but that's not really saying much. For a zone that is based off of Sonic colors, they definitely could have done a lot better than this. Next up, we got Seaside Hill Act 1. This level I'm not too big a fan of either. For a level that's inspired by Sonic Heroes, there is a certainly large underwater section that takes up most of this level. I don't remember the original Seaside Hill being about 80% underwater. This stage honestly kind of reminds me more of the Labyrinth zone from the first Sonic title on the Genesis, rather than the actual Seaside Hill. The Planet Wisps acts may be frustrating, but Seaside Hill Act 1 is just underwhelming as hell. Next up, we got the very first level of the game, Green Hill Act 1. There's nothing really too much going on here. This is just basically a revamp of the classic Genesis Green Hill, but with slight changes with the platforming. This is the level you play before everyone gets sucked into the white space. And this is also the level where you get to touch some beautiful green grass, in case anyone has forgotten what that feeling is like. This is a really good starter level for this game. Nothing really else to say about it. Coming up next, we got Sky Sanctuary Act 1 from Sonic and Knuckles. This level does look very nice, with the clouds that you can bounce on, the little egg robots shooting lasers at you, and you run on platforms that collapse once you touch them, so you better go fast. I do really like the end section where you run around the spinning tower as it begins to fall apart, but collecting the red rings in this level is just a pain in the ass. I had to play this level, I think, 3 or 4 times just to get all of them, since they are scattered in different routes. And above Sky Sanctuary Act 1, we got Chemical Plant Act 1 from Sonic 2. This level does look very nice. I really love the blue and yellow visuals on the roads you run on, and those clear tubes that take you to different paths. The underwater sections are pretty neat as well, and you can activate certain switches to unlock different routes, and especially the waterfalls. I don't know, they're just very nice to look at, I guess. The enemies can be pretty annoying as well, with those cone-shaped enemies that spew out their balls, and the yellow spiders that will try to grab you and steal your rings, and the loop sections are pretty satisfying to run on. And next up, we got Rooftop Run Act 1, and this level honestly looks beautiful. I love that this takes place in Spagonia, and you have various hot air balloons in the background along with the falling confetti, and you jump off of balloons, and you go on these basket zip lines to reach your destinations, and you have to dodge some swinging spike axes, and the spiked platforms that will squash you to death. The underground section with the rolling barrels look really cool as well, and the near end of the level is honestly pretty tedious though, where you have to climb up the tower and climb on the clock hands to reach the next destination. It's pretty tricky to find the right timing. And next up we got City Escape Act 1. For a 2D classic Sonic level, this stage is pretty fucking cool. I really like this take on this style of 2D, with taking elements from modern Sonic stages and injecting them into classic Sonic stages in a really unique way. And you have the gun military trucks trying to run you over. These trucks are not shy at all when it comes to running you over. There's this section with the scaffolds that you have to jump on to get to the higher route, and if you don't hurry up, the truck will knock everything over. So you better find the right timing and hurry up. And this is the only Act 1 level where classic Sonic gets to ride on a skateboard. That's honestly kinda cute, trying to be like his big brother modern Sonic. And the City Escape remix for Act 1 is incredible. And coming up next we got Sky Sanctuary Act 2. I always enjoyed the fascinating scenery of the classic Sky Sanctuary, so seeing it in 3D was quite enjoyable. The indoor sections of this level also look really nice, along with the red orbs that teleport you. There's even a section where the floor starts to collapse, encouraging you to keep running, which is very similar to the end section from Act 1. The platforming in the stage is honestly pretty tricky due to its sharp turns and tight spaces, and as you can see the gameplay I provided for this video, I did fumble quite a few times. That's my bad. Playing Sonic Generations after putting in several hours in Shadow Generations, the controls just feel a lot different. It's the muscle memory that kicks in. Anyways, I don't want to get off topic. Sky Sanctuary Act 2, very solid modern Sonic stage. Next up, it's Seaside Hill Act 2. If only I had Tails and Knuckles by my side, then we would get that true Sonic Heroes remake. This level is a really unique one because not only is this stage based off of Seaside Hill, but this level also takes inspiration from Ocean Palace, which is essentially the Act 2 of Seaside Hill. You can even hear the Ocean Palace theme when playing this level, which is a really clean transition coming from the Seaside Hill theme. And the level design is really interesting too, as there are multiple routes you can take in the section where it shows 3 different paths you can take, and each one has a different type of symbol. Whether it shows a picture of a turtle or a car, it really doesn't matter at all which paths you take at this level. The stage just has so many endless possibilities. Oh shit, wrong game. And the ending part of this level is really cool too, where you have to avoid all the rolling spiked barrels to reach the finish. And next on the list, it's Speed Highway Act 1, another classic Sonic level that I just really love the aesthetics of. You got all these beautiful buildings and cars that'll try to run you over if you don't look both ways. There's even some pretty cool Easter eggs in this stage too, especially that Chow in space poster, which really caught my eye. And the cinematography is really cool too, when classic Sonic grabs onto the missile and takes you to the next destination. I even love that you go into the hotels and break through the windows and eventually take you below the parking garage where you can see all the parked vehicles. And next up on the list, we got the best classic Sonic level, Crisis City Act 1. This has to be the most intense Act 1 level in this game, both visually and gameplay wise. Classic Sonic almost looks out of place in this stage, surrounded by debris caused by all the destroyed buildings on top of pools of lava, and you got all the enemies spewing fireballs at you, and the music for this level is such a banger too. The ending of this level is pretty sick, where you have this fire tornado in the background, and you got all those floating cars, trucks, and pieces of rubble from the buildings as running platforms, so you gotta be quite careful to make the right paths while trying not to be blown away by the wind. And by the time you get to the goal post, the structure that holds the post is blown away and you have to keep chasing it until you reach the finish. I honestly kinda wish that more 2D Sonic levels would do this whole chase the goal post thing. At first glance, I was not really a huge fan of Crisis City Act 1 due to how complex of a level it is, especially for an Act 1 level, but as time went on, I've realized the amount of replay value this level has, and I've grown to like this level a lot more. Well, now that we got all the classic Sonic stages out of the way, all there is left are the modern Sonic stages. And coming up, we got Chemical Plant Act 2. And this level looks sick as fuck. I love how in the beginning of the level, you're running on the blue and yellow path, and in between you are the 2 other paths that lead to different directions, just like in Chemical Plant Act 1. And you have the platforms that test your skills with the drifting ability, and the sections with the grind rails, or if you don't feel like using the rails, just take the zipline shortcut. And you got this really awesome section where you go down the water slide, and it launches you up, and then you go skydiving down the shaft with those stupid blue blobs that you have to avoid wood. This level even keeps some of the sections in 2D to preserve some of those classic chemical plant elements. In the near end of the level, as you hang on to more zip lines, there's multiple explosions in the background, which I thought was a really nice touch. Oh, and the modern chemical plant theme is such a fucking banger. Definitely one of my all-time favorite Act 2 themes in this game. I just love the visual presentation of this stage. It's just immaculate. Now, coming in at the top 5, we got the first Act 2 level, Green Hill Act 2. For a level to start off the game, this stage is fucking incredible. This game does a fantastic job turning the classic Green Hill into a more modernized 3D zone that you can boost through enemies, swap between rails, and the upgraded loops too. This level also kept some of the sections in 2D as a way of paying tribute to Green Hill from the classic Genesis title. The music of this theme is also fucking incredible. This is literally the type of music that I would listen to if I was running a marathon. And I hate running. And performing combos on the trick jump panels are really fun too. I also really love the cave section where you swap between the grind rails, and the cinematic of Sonic being chased by the giant chopper is really sick. And the waterfalls in this level look beautiful too. I just love the amount of details put into this level. Is it weird that I kind of want to live in Green Hill? I just really love the vibes of it. And coming in at number 4, we got Crisis City Act 2 from the infamous Sonic. Just like its Act 1 counterpart, the vibes of Crisis City Act 2 is quite intense, with the entire city in smithereens. The platforming in this level is really creative too, where you have all these chasms, and you have the home attack on the phoenixes to get to the other side, and you have those other sections with the lava pits. In a weird way, the platforming of this stage almost reminds me of that one level from Super Mario Galaxy. And the two of these sections are really unique too, where there are many platforms that are lifted by the floating lava, and you have to use the power stomp to lower them and progress through the level. And probably my favorite part of the level is boosting on the busted up freeway while dodging cars and boulders, and you can see the giant fire tornado too. For a level coming from a game that has glitchy controls, unpolished gameplay, and the notorious loading screens, I gotta say, Sonic Generations cooked with this level. No pun intended. Now coming in at number 3, we got the iconic City Escape Act 2 from Sonic Adventure 2. Not only does this level have a huge visual upgrade, but they even expanded the platforming too, and it is fucking awesome. They even did an excellent job giving this level some brand new tweaks while still sticking to its original roots from the original City Escape. Oh, and of course we got the iconic opening with Sonic snowboarding down the city, grinding down the staircases, dodging the enemy bots. They even added a 2D section like they do with nearly every Act 2 level. And they couldn't forget about the front-facing view of Sonic running away from the gun military truck, and you have to avoid its buzzsaws coming right at you. And the cinematography is just excellent. Same goes for the Act 2 theme. They even added a bridge part to the song too, which really caught my eye, or ears, since I'm hearing it and not watching it. And anyways, if I'm gonna be honest, I think I like the City Escape remake more than its original counterpart, but both stages will forever remain as one of the most iconic 3D Sonic levels. And the runner-up of the list, we have Rooftop Run Act 2 from Sonic Unleashed. This stage looks absolutely stunning because it takes place in the beautiful land of Spagonia, and you get a nice view of the Spagonia University, breaking windows through various buildings, and you have the section with the spike barrels rolling down at you, and it really puts your sidestepping skills to the test. And we got a nice 2D section too, leading up to another sidestepping section running up to tower. Then you get a nice view of the hot air balloons, and you grind rail down, and there's balloons to bounce on to avoid the spike platforms. And I really love the ending too, where you use the drifting ability and you target on to the 4 balloons to get to the finish, and you really have to use the boost as you have the spiked ceiling slowly coming down on you, crushing you to death. And to finish it off, you get the arrow chasers shooting laser beams at you and take advantage of the quick steps. I also really love the quick stepping sections in general, so when playing this part I had nothing but a good time. Alright, now cue the endless possibilities bit.
I see it now, it's always been inside of me, and now I feel so free, it's possibility.
Well, looks like I got all the levels out of the way, but now we finally get to the level taking the crown as the best level in Sonic Generations, and that stage is none other than That's right, everybody. The one, the only, Speed Highway Act 2 is taking the crown as the best Sonic Generations level. I don't think I can stress enough on how much I fuck with this level when it comes to great gameplay, beautiful aesthetics, excellent cinematography. This level just feels like something straight out of an action movie sequence. I mean, you're boosting on the buildings at an angle, avoiding bombs, and as you do so, the windows shatter on you. You're running in the hotel in 2D, and if you really pay attention, you can see the hotel gym with all the cardio equipment. And I love when Sonic grabs onto the helicopter, and then he lands on the pad, then you boost up to the next building and you get to see the inside of the building for a bit, and you break through the windows and you get chased by those security robot things, I think that's what you call them, and you're just boosting down, quick stepping past the walls and breaking more glass. That part is just phenomenal, and the cinematics complement it so well, and you put the drifting ability to really good use when you're running on the freeway with the cars to look out for. I was really on the fence of putting either Rooftop Run Act 2 or Speed Highway Act 2 as number 1, but after really observing the beauty of each of these stages, I think it's safe to say that Speed Highway takes the cake on this one. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is my ranking on every stage in Sonic Generations. We have already ranked all the levels from Sonic Generations and all the levels from Shadow Generations. So now all there is left to rank are the boss fights. And I'm combining all the bosses from Sonic and Shadow, since Sonic has 7 bosses and Shadow only has 4. This game has some really sick bosses, and they're really fun too. And since this is a ranking video, of course, this will all be based on my opinion. Some will agree and some will disagree. And feel free to drop your boss ranking in the comments below. I'm down to hear yours. Now, without further ado, let's get to the boss finishing in last place. And that is the final boss in Sonic Generations, the Time Eater. Now, where do I start off with this? The Time Eater is, I'm just trying to walk in, beat the shit out of the Time Eater, but how the f can I do that if I'm constantly hearing everyone yelling stupid shit at me? Just shut the f up and let me figure this out my house! I'm honestly kind of disgusted that I'm putting a final boss at the very bottom of the ranking. The Time Eater could have easily been the best boss in the game. But what went wrong that turned the Time Eater into the most dreadful piece of shit on Earth? Well, for starters, the super transformations of classic and modern Sonic are just underwhelming, and all of Sonic friends don't really do anything helpful either. They're just yapping in your ears on some of the most bullshit tips ever. Sonic, use your homing attack. Be careful, Sonic. Teamwork makes the dream work, Sonic. Sonic, don't forget to twist the Time Eater's dick. It's not just the boss that is difficult. It's just the urge that I just have to scream into my microphone and tell all of Sonic's friends to just stop fucking talking, please. If I just hit the mute button on my TV remote, I'm sure I'll have a slightly more enjoyable experience, and even then I would still fucking hate myself for replaying this stupid boss again. And above the Time Eater, we got the Death Egg Robot boss. This boss I'm not too big a fan of either, as you got the first half of the boss, which is really nothing special. You have to aim for the robots behind while he tries to throw punches at you. Then the second half takes you to this upper platform where you have to turn on the switch to activate the bombs scattered around the area for a short amount of time. Then you have to lure the Death Egg Robot into aiming his arm at one of the explosives to stun him, and after that you use his arm as a walkway to run and jump on the robot's head. The second half of the boss seems easy, but honestly, I find it to be pretty tedious to find the right timing to activate the switch for the robot to hit it on time. And classic Sonic just feels so janky to control. I don't know what it is. It's just a very below average boss. Alright, now moving forward with this ranking, every boss I list is either pretty good, really great, and just straight up bangers. And above the Death Egg Robot, we got the first boss of the game, which is Sonic vs. Classic Metal Sonic, inspired by Sonic CD. It's a pretty generic boss. You're running on a straight road while Metal is launching attacks at you. You also charge up a ton of electricity as an attempt to strike you from underneath. He'll also destroy the platform to get you off the stage, and you have to spin jump his metal ass to defeat him. It's a pretty fun and casual boss, but nothing too mind-blowing. And next up on the list is the Egg Dragoon boss, originally from Sonic Unleashed. But this time, Sonic is not in his Werehog form, so the platforming is completely different for the use of Sonic's boost. If you were to ask me which Egg Dragoon boss I prefer, whether that's the Unleashed version or the Generations version, I think I might like the Generations one a little bit more. You have to chase down the Dragoon in this underground tunnel, grinding on the rails to home attack on his weak spot, while Eggman tries to fire his drill attacks, fire beams, and ice waves at you. Then transition transitions to this 2D section where you have to dodge Eggman's ice waves, and he'll put you in these walls for you to wall jump and throw another shot at him. And after that, it transitions to this vertical diving section, just like in the Unleashed counterpart, and of course you have to aim for Eggman's head until he's fully defeated. This game does a really great job completely changing up the Egg Dragoon boss that was originally made for the Werehog in Unleashed to something that is much more suitable for Sonic in his normal form. Next on the list, we got Perfect Chaos from Sonic Adventure. This boss goes to show how much Sonic has evolved throughout the early years of the Sonic titles. As the original counterpart of the boss, Sonic fights Perfect Chaos in his super form, but in Generations, since he doesn't have access to the emeralds, he has no other option but to fight in his original form, and it's pretty fucking sick. As for the gameplay itself, when I first played this boss for the first time, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really like this boss too much due to the platforming and the obstacles to avoid, but once I got the hang of it, it's actually pretty fun. As you can tell from the boss, it takes place in this destructed station square, and you have to boost through the flooded platforms to get to Perfect Chaos. And I really like the cinematic where Sonic is running up to Perfect Chaos weak spot, and Chaos lets out this screeching sound once he gets hit. Then it takes you to this 2D section, and after that it's basically just a rinse and repeat of aiming your shot at the boss. And that's when phase 2 happens, where Perfect Chaos uses its power to rise up pieces of the ground, and you have to run across the platforms and avoid falling to your death, and finish off Perfect Chaos once and for all. Oh, and the boss music is a remix of Open Your Heart, which sounds amazing. And next on the list, we got the rival battle against Silver the Hedgehog that takes place in Crisis City from good old Sonic 06. What? Did you think that a loading screen will pop up on the screen when I mentioned Sonic 06? Yeah, I don't think so. Not after what happened last time when I was talking shit. I think this boss is really awesome at taking advantage of Sonic's quick-step technique when Silver uses his psychokinetic powers to throw cars and pieces of rubble at you and attacks you with his blade powers. And as Silver is lifting all the pieces of debris, you can use them to approach Silver and home attack on him. Oh, and if you boost into the cars into the auto-scrolling area, it can help you fill up your boost gauge, which you should definitely use your boost wisely when you end up in the 2D section. Silver uses his power to form all the debris into this platform, and Sonic has to run on them to aim at another shot at Silver. And for the big finish, the POV changes to Sonic's front view as Silver summons his Meteor Smash, where he gathers all the debris into, as the title implies, into a meteor and tries to crush Sonic to death, while Silver tries to crush Sonic with more floating objects until you finish Silver off with one last homing attack. And after you do so, you can see Silver getting crushed by his own meteor, which is honestly kind of funny to watch. That part almost kind of reminds me in Sonic 06 when Shadow did a
Chaos Control!
This is kind of off topic, but I just wanted to yap about Silver for a bit. With the release of Sonic X Shadow Generations, I feel like they should have done more with Silver too. I understand that this game was made to trademark off the Year of Shadow, which is fantastic. But imagine if Silver gets the same treatment as Shadow with a potential Year of Silver, and maybe an add-on to the Sonic X Shadow Generations storyline with Silver Generations, which can explain where Silver has been while the Time Eater sent everyone to the white space, because he was nowhere to be found at Sonic's birthday party. I don't know, that's just what I think. Now, back to the subject of this video. Silver the Hedgehog, one of my favorite rival battles of the game. But it's not as good as the rival battle against Shadow the Hedgehog, which is next on the list. That's right, my all-time favorite Sonic Generations boss is the Shadow boss. What can I say? Sometimes it's the most simplistic bosses that make them the best ones. The rival boss is, of course, inspired by Sonic Adventure 2, the game where Shadow makes his debut. It takes place in the Space Colony arc, and it's Sonic and Shadow 1v1ing each other over the Yellow Chaos Emerald. And the gameplay style is slightly different compared to all the other levels and bosses, more noticeably the boost gauge. Basically, Sonic and Shadow go off each other for the energy cores, which will power up their boost gauges. And if you succeed to collect 2 cores, Sonic will power up his boost by launching meteor rocks at Shadow to slow him down. But you want to make sure not to miss a lot of meteors, otherwise Shadow will just outrun you and the battle will just continue until Sonic collects those energy cores again. And if you succeed to slow Shadow down, you throw back shots at him by taking off his rings until he loses all his stamina. But now with the release of Shadow Generations, this boss battle has a whole different meaning when they redid the boss cutscene in Shadow's perspective. And it's revealed that Shadow had his Doom powers this whole time, and Shadow actually let Sonic win to take the Chaos Emerald, only for it to be revealed that Shadow gave Sonic a fake emerald and kept the real one to himself until he defeats Black Doom. The Sonic vs. Shadow event taking place in Sonic Generations, that making its move to Shadow Generations, has to be one of my favorite parts of this game. It's just awesome. And speaking of Shadow, we have gotten through all of these Sonic Generation bosses, so now it's time to rank every boss from Shadow Generations. That's right, I ranked all the Sonic bosses below the Shadow bosses, whether you like it or not. I just think they cooked hard as f*** with the Shadow bosses. And starting off, we got the first Shadow Generations boss, which is BioWizard. Unlike the original boss in Sonic Adventure 2 that just makes me want to smash my controller on my desk due to how difficult it is to dodge all the annoying circular orb things, whatever the f*** you want to call them, there's a reason why I prefer the Shadow Gens BioWizard over the SA2 BioWizard. The new BioWizard boss starts off just like the original, where he circles you around and whips you with his tail, and you have to grind rail to get to his head and throw attacks on him. But this is when things completely change, when in Phase 2, BioWizard grows out these wired arms surrounded by these pink bubbles, and you have to attack the arms and home attack on the bubbles to get to BioWizard's center. And then comes Phase 3, where BioWizard recharges himself and spews his bubbles directly at you, and you have to use the Chaos Spears to counteract them so you don't deal damage. And finally, BioWizard creates one giant energy ball to throw at Shadow, and it's your job to use Chaos Control to stop the ball and throw rapid punches and kicks until it ruptures. I know I've already said this before, but I'll say it again. The cinematography in Shadow Gens is just incredible, especially when Shadow Chaos controls BioWizard's balls. And next up on the list, we got the man who is part lizard, the one who gets friend zoned so frequently, which makes him knock so many chairs over because he gets so tilted at the towers. The one who has insomnia because he stays up all night playing Fortnite. It's the one, the only, Memphis, Tennessee. Alright. But jokes aside, we got Mephiles at the top 3 of the list, making his return from Sonic 06, and he's got a pretty badass entrance too. When Shadow finds the Scepter of Darkness and the ground turns into lean, and a bunch of the Shadow enemies spawn in, and Mephiles tries to backstab Shadow like what he did to Sonic back in 06, and Shadow dodges the attack, and it's really freaking cool. He does this as a way to get back at Shadow and wants to be restored to the timeline. The gameplay of the boss is pretty freaking sick, which relies a lot on the Doom Morph ability, as you have Mephiles chasing you with his long blade, and once Mephiles fails, you have the chance to Doom Morph his ass. Then he'll summon his Shadow minions, and you have to Doom Spear all of them. Then there's Phase 2, where Mephiles clones himself, and he throws the tilted towers to the ground that causes shockwaves, and you have to use Doom Morph to climb up the towers and reach to all the clones. And after all the clones are taken down, Mephiles transforms and shoots lasers and throws fists at you while you Doom Morph to his weak spot. And for the big finish, Mephiles clones himself once more and circles around Shadow, preparing to finish him. But it's a good thing we got Chaos Control by our side to freeze time to take out each clone at a time until we get the real Mephiles. And after that, he is once again sealed away in the Scepter to never be seen again. Or is it? Not gonna lie, I kinda hope they bring back Mephiles for a future Sonic game. Or maybe for the next mainline title. Who knows? Only time will tell when that'll happen. I don't know. In the runner-up of this ranking, we got Metal Overlord from Sonic Heroes. How ironic that this is the second time Metal Sonic has appeared on the list. He appeared as Classic Metal Sonic in Sonic Gens, and now he's back as Modern Sonic in his Overlord form. I love this boss so fucking much. Metal Overlord's design looks fantastic, and the gameplay completely relies on the Doom Surf ability. Metal will launch missiles at you while you're in the water that's being fenced by the lasers, and you use Doom Smurf... And you use Doom Surf to counteract the missiles along with the debris to hit Metal. There's also jump panels that you can trick off of to reach Metal's upper body to hit his weak spot repeatedly. And Metal will try to hit you with his tail, and if you find the right timing, you can jump over to avoid him. Then in Phase 2, it transitions to 2D, and Metal Overlord plays a good old round of ping pong with the crystal attacks with you, and you want to make sure to keep up with him, and if you do, Metal will deal damage from the crystal you launch at him. Then he'll form this whirlpool, and you have to counteract more missiles and debris at Metal, and out of the ordinary, Metal pulls out a gunship out of his ass and launches it at Shadow. That's when you'll have to use the Doom Spears to destroy it, and the debris from the gunship will fall down, and you have to use Chaos Control to home attack on the pieces to hit Metal. And to finish it off, Shadow throws a kick at Metal Overlord. I absolutely love the Metal Overlord boss. I would say it's my all-time favorite, but there is one boss that's gonna take the crown as the best boss battle from Sonic X Shadow Generations. And that boss is none other than... You heard it, folks. The boss taking the crown is Devil Doom. It's a fight to the death between a father and his son, and they cooked hard with Devil Doom's design. They did an excellent job to make Doom look like the most disgusting looking creature imaginable. Don't tell me that he doesn't look like a demonic nutsack. The platforming of the stage is also insane. It has you go through all of the Doom powers. The boss starts off with you using Doom Surf ability. Just like the Metal Overlord boss, you use Doom Surf to dodge Devil Doom's lasers and counteract his laser balls to deal damage to him. Then Shadow throws multiple punches at Doom, and he will throw you to a section where you have to use the Doom Morph ability to reach back to him. And I'm not gonna lie, it is quite tricky to pull off. And once you reach Doom to throw your attacks on him, he'll throw you back again to a much bigger Doom Morph area. And once you reach him again, Devil Doom evolves to Neo Devil Doom and refills his health gauge, and you got All Hail Shadow playing in the background. And in my opinion, I think All Hail Shadow is the perfect final boss theme for Shadow. And that is the time that Shadow uses Doom Wings, and he can now fly around freely, almost as if Shadow was in a super form. And of course, his ring count is set to 100, and it will gradually decrease if you don't collect more rings. You continuously use the Doom Wings to dodge more obstacles that Neo Devil Doom will throw you at. And once you're about to finish him off, Neo Devil Doom does a Chaos Control on Shadow, since this takes place in the Doom Zone, and Shadow doesn't have access to Chaos Control in here. But Shadow deflects his Chaos Control and finally finishes off Neo Devil Doom by throwing a bunch of Doom Spears at him and punches through him, causing Neo Devil Doom to fucking explode. That has to be one of the most badass Shadow moments of all time. How the f did the final boss of Sonic Gens end up being the worst boss of all time, while the Shadow Gens final boss ended up being on number 1 of the ranking? How ironic. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is my ranking on every boss in Sonic X Shadow Generations. Sonic Generations, it's great at all, but Shadow Generations just so much better in my opinion, giving Sonic Generations an 8 out of 10 and Shadow Generations a 9.2 out of 10, giving Sonic X Shadow Generations as a whole an 8.9 out of 10. This game is fantastic. Hope you all enjoyed my review on Sonic X Shadow Generations, and if you did, feel free to hit that thumbs up button, and if you want more videos like these, feel free to hit the subscribe button below. These videos take a lot and time and effort, so your support is greatly appreciated. That's all I got for today. Till next time, bye bye.